Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am so glad you are here with us today. I was walking through a bookstore the other day, an actual physical bookstore. Remember those?
A rare sighting.
It really is. And I wandered into the spirituality and self-help section. And I just stood there for a minute looking at the shelves.
Mm.
And it hit me.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of options is just, it's paralyzing.
Oh, yeah.
You have rows of books on mindfulness, then right next to it, ancient Vedic texts. You've got modern biohacking guides sitting next to books on crystals and angels. Then you have the psychology section bleeding into the Buddhism section.
It's the supermarket of the soul.
Exactly. It's a supermarket of the soul.
Yeah.
And it struck me that for most of us, we are just wandering the aisles, right? We're grabbing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, hoping we're making a nutritious meal. But deep down, there's this gnawing question that keeps us up at night. Is there actually a recipe? Is there a map?
Or are we just throwing ingredients into a pot and hoping it doesn't explode?
Yes. Or just hoping it's edible at the end of the day.
Well, it's that classic paradox of abundance, isn't it? We have access to more wisdom traditions today than any human being in history. I mean, think about it. A peasant in the 14th century had the local priest and maybe, a rumor of a mystic in the next village.
That was it? That was their whole menu?
That was the whole menu. We have the entire history of human consciousness in our pocket. But context is scarce. We have all the dots, but we don't have the lines connecting them. And humans, by nature, we're taxonomists. We crave structure. We want to know, am I in kindergarten? Am I in high school? Or am I working on my PhD? We want to know where we stand.
We want the syllabus.
Yes.
You want to know if we're passing the class. And that is exactly why today's deep dive is so exciting and, frankly, a little provocative.
Mm-hmm.
We have a stack of material here centered around a very specific, very confident breakdown of spiritual evolution. It comes from a source, a practitioner and teacher, who goes by the moniker, the Man from Oz. And he doesn't give us some vague, follow your heart kind of advice. He lays it out. 4 distinct levels, not 3, not 5, 4. And he presents it not as a theory, but as a hard map of the territory.
And what's so fascinating about this particular breakdown is its linearity. We often hear that spirituality is a spiral, or it's a circle, or just a chaotic mess. But this source presents it like a ladder.
A straight shot of it.
A straight shot up. It moves from something very familiar to us, the intellectual gathering of ideas, all the way to a state that is described as, well, frankly, as indescribable. But what's crucial and what we're really going to unpack today is what happens after you reach the top of that ladder.
Right.
Because the implication here is that you don't just climb up and disappear. You climb up, you change, and then you come back down with a completely different operating system.
That's the part that really hooked me. The idea that losing yourself might actually be the best way to find a better version of your life. But before we get to the map and before we talk about the destination, we have to talk about the cartographer.
Yes.
Because whenever someone hands you a map of the territory of the soul, you have to ask, have you actually been there?
Yeah.
If I'm buying a travel guide to Paris, I want it written by someone who lives in Paris, not someone who watched a documentary about the Eiffel Tower once.
Precisely. Authority is everything in this context. In the scientific world, we look for peer-reviewed papers. In the spiritual world, the currency is different. The currency is time and state. If I'm giving you directions to non-dual awareness, my resume matters. And this source, the Man from Oz, he provides a resume that is, well, it's statistically very unusual.
Okay, so let's unpack the Man from Oz. This isn't someone who just read a book last week and decided to start a TikTok channel. The source material highlights some pretty staggering numbers. We're looking at a claim of almost 50 years of advanced yoga meditation practice.
50 years. Let's just pause on that. Half a century.
It's a lifetime.
It is a lifetime. Think about the world 50 years ago. I mean, the cultural landscape was completely different. If someone has been maintaining a rigorous, advanced practice for 50 years, they have weathered every fad, every trend, every shift in the culture. They've likely seen thousands of people start and quit. They've seen the pitfalls. That creates a density of data you just can't fake.
And he specifically mentions he has been teaching for 46 of those years. And he emphasizes something that I found really interesting right off the bat. He says he teaches totally free.
And that is a significant market signal. In economics, we always look at incentives. When a spiritual teacher charges, $5,000 for a weekend retreat to unlock your potential, you have to ask, is the initiation necessary, or does the guru have a mortgage to pay?
Right. There's a conflict of interest.
There is an inherent conflict of interest in spiritual commerce. But when a teacher asserts that the teaching has been totally free for nearly half a century, It shifts the dynamic entirely. It suggests the motivation is service, or perhaps a sense of duty rather than profit. It frames the information as a gift rather than a product.
It definitely lowers my skepticism shields a little. Makes you lean in and say, okay, if you aren't trying to sell me something, what are you trying to tell me?
Exactly.
And he says he has students in over 100 countries, so this isn't just, some local operation. But the thing that really stopped me in my tracks, and I had to reread the timeline a few times to make sure I had the math right, was the timeline of his own awakening. He claims to have attained the samadhi experience 38 years ago.
Mm.
And if you do the math on the dates provided in the source,
Mm-hmm.
he was 19 years old.
19.
19. I mean, think back to when you were 19. I was trying to figure out which dorm party to go to or how to pass intro to psychology.
I was worried about why my crush didn't call me back.
Exactly. I was definitely not hitting the peak state of spiritual consciousness.
It is remarkably young. In most Orthodox traditions, whether we are talking about Zen monasteries in Japan or caves in the Himalayas, the samadhi state is kind of the retirement package.
Yeah, it's the gold watch.
It's the gold watch. It is generally considered the culmination of decades of asceticism. You sweep the temple floor for 20 years, you meditate for another 20, and maybe, if you're lucky, you get a glimpse of it in your 60s. To hit that mark as a teenager suggests a prodigy. Or it suggests someone with a very specific, very intense early training that accelerated the process.
And he doesn't just say it happened once. He mentions multiple samadhi experiences after that. It wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a one-off lightning strike or, a drug-induced trip.
No, it was repeatable. And that repeatability is crucial for what comes next in our discussion. He talks about control. Specifically says he learned how to control my kundalini, referring, of course, to kundalini energy and developing it on a daily basis.
Okay, let's pause on kundalini or kundalini.
Mm-hmm.
For the listener who might hear that word and just think of, a yoga class at the gym where you do a few rapid breaths, what are we actually talking about here in this advanced context?
Right. So in the context of the yogic tradition, kundalini is often described as the primal evolutionary energy of the human being. It's visualized as a coiled snake at the base of the spine.
The serpent power.
The serpent power. The theory is that in most of us, it's dormant, it's asleep, we're running on a low-voltage battery. But the goal of these advanced practices is to wake that snake up. When it wakes up, it travels up the spine, piercing the chakras, the energy centers, and when it hits the brain, that is the explosion of enlightenment. That is samadhi.
Right, but I've also heard stories, some pretty scary stories of people messing around with this. They call it Kundalini syndrome, right? People having tremors, heat flashes, even psychotic breaks because they woke it up too fast.
Exactly. It's often described as running high-voltage electricity through a wire that is only rated for a household lamp. If the nervous system isn't prepared, if the wire isn't thick enough, the energy can fry the circuits. It can be physically and mentally destabilizing. So for this source, the man from Oz to claim he is controlling it and developing it on a daily basis is a statement of immense technical mastery. He's telling us, I'm handling nuclear power every single day and I am doing it safely.
Which sets him up as the expert guide. He's basically saying, I've been to the mountaintop, I go there regularly, and I can handle the voltage. It frames these 4 levels not just as a theory he read about, but as a report from the field.
He's the electrician who knows how to wire the house so it doesn't burn down.
I like that.
He's reporting on the landscape because he claims to live there. And that authority allows him to categorize the journey in a way that might feel a bit judgmental to some, but is likely intended to be diagnostic.
Okay, so let's get into this landscape. He breaks it down into 4 levels. And level 1 is probably where a lot of us, and maybe a lot of you listening right now, might recognize yourselves. I know I certainly did.
Level 1 is the foundation. The source defines it as being involved in religion or spiritual practices or research and knowledge seeking.
Research and knowledge seeking. That phrase just jumped out at me. Because that is what we do, right? We consume information. We listen to podcasts about spirituality, like this one.
Yes.
We read books about meditation. We watch documentaries about gurus. We collect ideas like they're baseball cards.
It's the intellectual phase. And it is a necessary phase. You can't start a journey if you don't know the destination exists. You have to look at the map before you start the car. But there's a crucial distinction here that the source is making. In level 1, spirituality is an object. It's something you look at. It's something you study. It's on the shelf or it's on the screen. It's separate from you.
It's the menu phase. I love this analogy. You're sitting at a restaurant, you're looking at the menu, you're reading the description of the lasagna. You know it has layers of pasta, ricotta cheese, marinara sauce. You might even know the history of the tomato. But reading the menu is not eating the lasagna.
Yep.
You can memorize the menu and starve to death.
That is a perfect analogy. And notice the source group's religion in here too, which implies that simply belonging to a religion, showing up, going through the motions, knowing the dogma, reciting the prayers, is still just level 1.
Still on the menu.
It's still external. You're holding the map, but you haven't necessarily started walking. You're a member of the club, but you aren't playing the sport.
That's a bit of a call-out, isn't it? To say that being involved in religion is the lowest level of advancement, it really challenges the idea that just believing is enough.
It is provocative, but from the perspective of an advanced practitioner like this, advancement isn't about affiliation. It's not about wearing the right badge or labeling yourself a seeker. Advancement is about internal transformation. You can know everything there is to know about water, the chemical formula H2O, the freezing point, the boiling point without ever getting wet. Level 1 is dry land.
Level 1 is dry land. I love that. So how do we get wet? What pushes someone from level 1 to level 2? Because it seems like a lot of people get stuck in level 1 forever. They just keep buying more books.
Right, they become collectors.
Yeah. The source uses a very specific word here to describe the transition. He says level 2 is when you become convinced.
Convinced. It's such a pivotal word. It implies a shift in certainty. In level 1, you're exploring possibilities. Maybe this is true. Maybe meditation works. Maybe there is a soul.
It's all hypothetical.
All hypothetical. In level 2, the switch flips. You move from curiosity to conviction. The evidence, whether it's a moment of intuition, a crisis that forces you to look deeper, or just a saturation of knowledge, it becomes undeniable.
And that conviction leads to action. The source says level 2 is when you enter into some type of esoteric practice. And he lists them out. Mantra, breathwork, yoga, meditation.
And this is where the rubber meets the road. Notice the shift in verbs. Level 1 was seeking and research. Level 2 is practice. It's doing. It's the shift from noun to verb. You stop being a meditation enthusiast and you start meditating.
It's the difference between reading a book on fitness and actually doing a push-up. You can't think your way into a six-pack, and apparently you can't think your way into enlightenment either.
Precisely. And he uses the term esoteric practice. Now, esoteric is a heavy word. In common parlance, we think it means weird or obscure.
Yeah, something with crystals and chanting.
Right. But technically, esoteric means intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with specialized knowledge. It implies moving inward. It implies that the practice is no longer just a public performance or a social habit, but a specific technique designed to unlock something hidden within your physiology or psychology.
Okay, so he mentions mantra and breath work. These aren't just things you do to relax after a stressful meeting in this context. They're tools. They're technologies.
They are technologies of consciousness. And at level 2, you are applying these technologies. You aren't just thinking about them. You're waking up and sitting on the cushion. You're controlling the breath. You are reciting the mantra. You are engaging with the mechanism of your own mind. You are the scientist, and your own nervous system is the laboratory.
So if level 1 is the library, level 2 is the laboratory, you're running experiments on yourself. And honestly, this seems like the hardest level. Because initially, nothing really happens, right? You just sit there. Your back hurts. Your nose itches. You think about your grocery list.
It is the grind. It's the discipline phase. In any skill acquisition, whether it's playing the piano or awakening Kundalini, there's a period of repetition without visible reward.
You just have to trust it.
You are rewiring the system. You are convinced it will lead somewhere, so you keep doing it. You trust the process even when the process feels boring or pointless or just plain hard.
And then something happens. The work starts to pay off. The wiring connects. And this brings us to level 3. And honestly, this is where the script gets a little wild. I was reading this part of the source material, and I was like, okay, we're leaving Kansas now.
Level 3 is the maturation. The source says this is when you start to mature in your practice. So the seeds you planted in the rocky soil of level 2 finally start to bear fruit.
But the fruit isn't just, I feel calmer or I'm less stressed. The source describes mystical experiences. He talks about the multi-dimensional nature of existence, and then he drops this line. Noticing beings from higher frequencies.
Yes, this is a radical departure from the mundane world. In level 2, you are human doing a practice. In level 3, the practice reveals that the world you thought you lived in is much, much larger.
Beings from higher frequencies. I mean, that is a specific claim. We aren't just talking about a vague sense of peace or some kind of metaphor. We're talking about perception, seeing things, sensing entities. It sounds crowded.
It's a shift in sensory or maybe extrasensory capability. The source calls them magical experiences. For the practitioner, the veil is thinning. The reality that was solid and predictable in level 1 and 2, the reality of bills and gravity and traffic, suddenly becomes fluid.
Wow.
It becomes populated by things that were previously invisible. It's like discovering that your radio has been stuck on one station your whole life, and suddenly you turn the dial and realize there are 1,000 other stations playing music you never knew existed.
It sounds incredibly exciting. I mean, who wouldn't want to see the multidimensional nature of existence? It's like getting supervision. It's like living in a Marvel movie.
It is incredibly seductive, and in many spiritual traditions, this level is actually considered a danger zone.
The danger zone.
Yeah.
Why? You're seeing angels in higher dimensions. That sounds like winning to me.
Because it is fascinating. It's the fireworks stage. If you start seeing lights or hearing sounds or sensing beings, the ego can get very attached to that. You can start to think, look at me, I'm special, I'm seeing the magic show, I have powers. It's so easy to get stuck here because it's so entertaining.
That makes so much sense. You go to the movies for the special effects. If your meditation becomes a blockbuster movie every time you close your eyes, you might not want to leave the theater.
Exactly. You've become a spiritual tourist.
Yeah, you've just upgraded what you're consuming.
Exactly. You're still a consumer. You've just upgraded the product. In level 1, you consumed books. In level 3, you consume visions. But the fundamental structure hasn't changed. There is still a you witnessing a being. There is a subject and an object. I am seeing the light. I am feeling the energy. As long as there is an I enjoying the light show, we haven't reached the top of the mountain.
So the goal isn't just to see cool stuff. The goal is something else entirely, which leads us to the final frontier, level 4. The source describes this as the maturation of these experiences into the samadhi or nirvana state. But then he goes further. He says, going beyond that into the non-dual state.
And this is where language just starts to break down. The source itself says it's indescribable because language is built on duality, subject, verb, object, I throw the ball. But in this state, there's no I and there's no ball. So he gives us a list of what it is not. It's a list of negations.
Yeah, it's the no list. He says, there is no I, there is no mind, there is no experience. And finally, non-experience total.
Non-experience total. Just pause on that for a second. We spend our entire lives chasing experiences. We want the vacation experience, the dining experience, the love experience. Even in level 3, we want the mystical experience. Level 4 is the cessation of all of that.
It sounds terrifying, honestly. No mind, no I. It sounds like death. If there's no I, then who is there? What's left? Am I just a vegetable?
And that is the paradox of non-duality. As long as we are thinking with the mind, we cannot comprehend a state where the mind is absent. We imagine it as a blank void, like a dark room. We think of loss. But the teachers of the state, and the source included, they don't describe it as a loss. They describe it as advancement. It's the pinnacle.
So it's not that you lose yourself and become nothing. It's that you lose the limitations of yourself.
Think of it like a computer. If you have 1,000 windows open, level 1 anxieties, level 2 disciplines, level 3 visions, the processor is clogged. It's slow. Level 4 is a reboot. It's the log off from the simulation of the separate self. It is the collapse of the separation. You aren't watching the universe anymore. You are the universe.
Wow.
But because there's no separation, there's no experience of it in the traditional sense. You can't say, I feel good, because there is no I left to report on the feeling.
It's the ultimate drop, on a roller coaster. That moment of weightlessness. It's like that, but permanent. The I that was struggling, the I that was researching in level 1, the I that was practicing in level 2, even the I that was watching the angels in level 3. It's gone.
It is gone. And this is where we have to be very careful with our interpretation, because this is the pivotal moment of the entire deep dive. If level 4 is no mind and no I, does that mean you just sit in a cave and drool? Is it the end of functionality?
That's the classic image, right? The monk on the mountain, totally checked out. He's blissful, but he's useless to the rest of us. He's not paying taxes. He's not raising kids. He's not fixing leaky faucets.
Right. The checking out model of enlightenment. But, and here's where the source takes a really sharp, fascinating turn. This man from Oz doesn't just stay in the void. He doesn't just hang out in the non-experience total. Immediately after describing this state of no I and no mind, he pivots to customer service.
It is such a jarring transition in the text, isn't it? One moment we are discussing the ineffable nature of non-existence, and the very next sentence is, remember, if you have any stubble suffering with any illness.
I think he means stubborn suffering, referring to chronic conditions. He specifically targets those for whom medical science is insufficient and not helping.
Right, so he's addressing the gap, the people who've tried the doctors, tried the medicine, and are still sick. And he offers a free consultation of energy healing.
And this connects right back to the beginning, the totally free aspect. He's bridging the gap between this lofty level 4 state and the very gritty, painful reality of human illness. But here is the critical insight. The fact that he offers this service proves that level 4 isn't about becoming less capable, it's about becoming more capable.
This is the return, right? This is the part that fascinates me. You go up the ladder, you hit level 4, you dissolve into the universe, and then you come back down. But you don't come back down as the same person who went up.
Exactly. This is the key that I think is so often missed in these discussions. The loss of self in level 4 is the loss of the small self, the fearful, anxious, limited ego. When you step back down into the world of form, into the marketplace, into the healing session, you are gathering your clothes again, so to speak.
Yeah.
You put on a personality, you put on a role, but these are new clothes. They're cleaner, they're lighter. And the person wearing them has upgraded their processor.
So you've widened your consciousness to the maximum possible setting. You've seen the whole picture.
Yeah.
And now, when you deal with regular life problems like illness or anxiety or work, you aren't dealing with them from a narrow, stressed-out perspective. You're dealing with them with the full power of that expanded state.
Precisely. You have renewed your capacity. You've increased your intellectual and intuitive capabilities exponentially. And why? Because you aren't fighting yourself anymore. You're not wasting energy on fear or doubt. The man from Oz suggests that by reaching level 4, he has unlocked abilities that allow him to interact with the world in a way that seems miraculous to us at level 1.
And he gets even more specific about this capability. And this is my favorite part of the source material because it's just so practical. He offers a 10-minute anxiety fix.
For a very specific price point.
Less than the price of a Starbucks coffee. It's just $5.
The specificity is brilliant. It anchors the offering in the modern world. Everyone knows the price of a latte. He's basically saying, for the cost of that frothy milk drink you buy every morning to wake up, I can fix your anxiety in 10 minutes.
And how does he deliver this $5 fix? Does he send you a PDF? A video link? No. He says it is delivered to you telepathically anywhere in the globe.
And here is where we see the integration of the levels. This confirms our theory about the return. He is operating from that level 3, level 4 capability, using non-local consciousness, telepathy, energy, to solve a level 1 problem.
Anxiety.
It's a fascinating juxtaposition. You have the no-mind philosophy, which is arguably the most complex spiritual concept there is, and then you have the $5 Venmo transaction for a telepathic zap. But if we follow the logic of the renewed self, this makes perfect sense.
He's using his superpowers, his widened consciousness, to do something efficient and helpful.
It illustrates that the purpose of the climb isn't just to enjoy the view from the top. The purpose of the climb is to build the muscles to help the people at the bottom. The man from Oz creates a picture of a practitioner who claims to straddle worlds. He isn't asking you to retreat to a cave. He's saying, I can reach you where you are instantaneously. It validates his claims of controlling the Kundalini and the multidimensional nature. If he can truly do that, then distance doesn't matter. Telepathy is just another tool in the kit, like a hammer or a wrench.
It really reframes the whole idea of losing your ego. We're so terrified of losing our ego because we think we'll lose our success or our drive or our ability to get things done.
Yeah, the fear of becoming a doormat.
Right. But this model suggests the opposite. It suggests that if you lose the ego, you might actually become more successful. You might become a better healer, a better worker, a better human, because you're operating without all that friction.
You're operating with a wider view angle. Imagine trying to navigate a maze while you're inside it. That's level 1 and 2. You bump into walls, you get lost.
You take wrong turns.
Level 4 is a drone shot. You see the whole maze from above. When you come back down, the return, you remember the map. You can navigate the maze effortlessly. You are stronger, better, happier, and yes, likely more successful in all aspects of life because you're no longer guessing. You know the terrain.
So if you reach the pinnacle of human potential, this level 4 state, you don't cease to exist. You become a high-performance vehicle for consciousness. You come back to your life, but the colors are brighter, the mind is sharper, and the anxiety is gone.
And if the anxiety isn't gone, you know a guy who can fix it for $5.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which raises the question, doesn't it? If you are at level 4 and there is no I who is collecting the $5.
That's the ultimate question.
Like, does the non-dual awareness have a bank account, a PayPal?
It touches on the concept of the bodhisattva in Buddhism, the being who attains enlightenment but remains in the world to help others. There is a functional self that operates in the marketplace, that sets up the website, that prices the anxiety fix. But internally, perhaps, the attachment to that self is gone. He plays the role of the healer, but maybe he doesn't identify with it in the way we would. He wears the suit, but he knows he isn't the suit.
So he's wearing the healer costume, but he knows he's naked underneath. Metaphorically speaking, of course.
Metaphorically, yes. He's engaging in the transaction, but from a place of non-experience. It's a paradox. But spiritual advancement is almost always paradoxical. You have to become nobody to become somebody who can truly help.
You have to become nobody to become somebody who can truly help. That is a powerful thought. So, okay, we have this ladder. The intellectual seeker at level 1, the disciplined practitioner at level 2, the mystical voyager at level 3, and the non-dual void at level 4. And then the most important step, the return, the descent back into the world armed with a new mind and a new heart.
It's a complete ecosystem. And for the listener, the value of a map like this isn't necessarily to judge yourself. It's not about saying, oh, I'm only at level 1, I suck.
Right. It's not a competition. You don't get a gold star for reaching level 4.
It's about orientation. It helps you understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you're reading books and feeling stuck, maybe it's because you're trying to solve a level 2 problem with level 1 tools. You can't think your way into a practice. You have to do it.
Or if you're seeing crazy lights in your meditation and thinking you've reached the end, this map says, hey, cool lights, but keep going. That's just the scenery on level 3.
Exactly. It prevents you from parking the car too early. And most importantly, it reminds you that the goal isn't just to leave the world. The goal is to upgrade yourself so you can live in the world with more joy, more power, and less suffering.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the mind of the man from Oz, I want to leave you with that thought. Where are you stationed right now? Are you in the library, the gym, the cinema, or have you logged off? And if you have logged off, what did you bring back with you when you logged back in?
And a final provocative thought. If level 4 involves no experience and no I, and you successfully return from that state with renewed capacity, who is the one that comes back? Is it the same person who left? Or is it something else entirely, just wearing your face?
Deep. I'm going to need a coffee to process that. Or maybe a $5 zap.
Indeed.
Thanks for diving in with us. Identify your level, keep climbing, and remember, the view from the top is only useful if you bring it back down to the ground. We'll see you on the next deep dive.